Project 7. He's celebrating 70 years of Topps baseball cards. I'm David O'Brien, Braves writer for The Athletic, with my co-host Eric O'Flaherty, former Braves reliever. What's going on, Eric?
What's up, Dave?
Not much, man. A lot, considering there was an off day yesterday. I'm sitting around relaxing, going, I want to get some things done in the yard today, take care of some things. And then all of a sudden, the Braves signed Charlie Morton. I thought my immediate reaction was smart move, great move. That was a 1-year deal, and 1-year deal for $20 million, which people were talking about. Oh, he's a great candidate for the qualifying offer. Well, the qualifying offer was going to be 18, 19 million. So, and you could have done that for sure. But I thought this was a good faith gesture, and it also, a big part of this is there's a $20 million option with no buyout. Alex is the master of these options with no buyouts, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe they're a little higher than the option would be with a buyout, but he has no buyout. So works out great for the team. I think he's real fair with these offers.
That's a great deal for Charlie too.
It is a great deal for Charlie. Enough to say, you know what? I do want to come back. I can't leave $20 million on the table. And I really like this team. If he didn't like the team, if he wasn't having a great time this year and playing for a contender, I don't think he'd come back, play for a team that has no chance of winning a World Series, and a team that he doesn't really like going to work every day. He's made enough money in his career, and his family's too important for him. I mean, he was ready to step away from it 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's why a deal like this makes so much sense at the point he's at, because he's asking himself how much longer he wants to play.
Mm-hmm.
And even if he wanted to retire after next year, they're not, you can't force him to show up. So for him, he can go home after next year, and he doesn't feel like he's leaving all that money on the table or anything like that. But, I mean, he looks great, but who knows how his body feels or what he's got to put into it to do what he's doing at this age.
I think it's pretty amazing what he's doing. You would know better than I, but I mean, he'll be 38 in November, and this guy is throwing harder now. His average fastball velo is 95.5 this year. That's up from 93.4 last year. And it was 94.7 in 2019. 95.5, and we're a month from the end of the season.
I don't know how he does it. We're about the same age.
And the spin rate. Spin rate's extraordinary. I mean, it's elite, like off the charts.
Yeah, and I think the spin rate for me makes sense, because I think feel goes up as you get older. You get more and more feel. You learn how to repeat it more and more, but guys that can maintain their velocity into their late 30s, I mean, I can play catch with my kids now. My arm's sore. He's throwing 100 pitches.
Your velo's down to about 45 now.
I bet you if I got off a mound, I'm sitting high 60s, letting it eat too.
It's amazing. I mean, he keeps himself in terrific shape. He's got 4 kids, and he's He's a big dude, perfect body for pitching. And I think it also has to be noted that he had a really unusual career, and that it really took off in his mid-30s, before he became an elite pitcher. Before that, he was good, but he's always hurt. And he didn't have a bunch of seasons where he, logged 170, 180 innings, 200. And he didn't have those. So he went like 5-6 years in the middle of what would have been his peak years for most pitchers, where he was still finding his way.
Yeah.
So he's had a really unusual career, but I think as a result, he's probably got a lot more bullets in that arm than if there's a theory that if you have so many bullets in your arm in a career, most guys do, then in his case, he preserved a lot of them involuntarily during those years where he was struggling or hurt.
Yeah, and I think you can go get bullets. You can add bullets. You go to the training staffs now, the strength coaches, and I'm not just talking lifting heavy weights and all that stuff. I'm talking the mobility, the recovery. They have hyperbaric chambers in every clubhouse now. Like, there's so many ways. I think you can go get a lot more bullets than that saying came from guys that were playing in the 70s, 80s, 90s that they didn't have any of these things that to use now that guys do. So
they just went out and threw.
They just went out and threw, and it's like, you hit 30 and you're just going out and throwing, you fall off a cliff pretty quick. But guys know a lot better how to maintain their bodies. So I'm sure, and that's kind of what I'm saying is that who knows how much work he's having to put into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the physical part of it, but the mental strain of finding a way to feel good every day is what usually beats guys down as they get older. And he's got his family, 4 kids at home is a lot of heat.
Yeah.
A full family, them being close to home probably helps a lot, but that grinds you down too, because your wife's tired, you're traveling, you're away from your kids, you're missing
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So who knows how much longer he wants to play, but that's why I think this is a great deal for him, because it's just a 1-year deal at 20 mils a lot. What did he get
Yeah.
this year? Was it 10?
15
15. So he get 5 more than last year. I mean,
at 38.
I'll strap it on 1 more year.
Yeah.
You know,
It's his peak earning.
yeah,
At 38, most guys are on the downside, at that
yep,
point, unless they signed a real long deal.
yeah.
And most guys are
And
selling for 1-year deals for a third of that.
yep, and it works out for the team too, because like we're talking about, at some point he's going to run out of magic.
Mm-hmm.
And so they saw him all the way through to early September, said,
Yeah.
we're not seeing any signs of anything to worry about. You got your trainers looking at him, working on him every day. You know what he's complaining about, you know what he's dealing with. And if the guy's just rolling through it, I mean, it works out great for the team to think this is a great gamble that he's got another good year left in him. If he happens to have another one, we got an option on him. So they'll be in the same position next year, making the same choice.
Yeah. And it's perfect for a team with these young starters like they have, because they've got enough guys who've got experience now and toe in the water, and they've seen and they have a good feel for who they've got. And they got rid of kind of some of the fringe guys. But when you can build next year around Freed and Anderson, and now you have Charlie, and then you've got, you've seen enough of Muller to feel good about his chances next year. Tuck Davidson. I don't think you have to really go out and get another, like this year they went out and signed Smiley as well for 11 million. I don't think you have to do that next year now. You can spend that money elsewhere. And you got Charlie to kind of, I mean, he is a sounding board. He is a fountain of advice for these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of those guys that not only knows everything, seen everything, but he's willing to share it.
Yeah.
Whereas some guys, you have to pull it out of their, you have to extract it from them. All it takes, a guy can ask him about anything and he'll talk about anything. He's not one of those guys that's like, I don't want to give away my secrets. He wants to share everything with his teammates.
Guys like that suck. There's not many of them. I mean, I think the point, when you get to that point in your career where you've seen all these shortcuts you could have taken,
yeah,
and you're watching young guys struggle to get through, it's like, hey man, there's a lot easier way to do this than what you're trying. Like you want to pass that on and make it easier for them, because it's such a hard game. And I think it's smart too, because I think, trying to fill 3 spots in that rotation, having 3 spots up for grab would be really tough, because there's a lot of inconsistency with young guys. And Charlie's just been an anchor. I think he's been the most consistent, where you feel like what you're getting out of him almost every time out all year. And that's huge to have, because it's huge to have one guy that you feel like is not going to fluctuate. And Freed's there too. He has some blisters. He gets, he has a rough start, or had a rough start to the year. But having a guy like Charlie, where like, you have this long track record, they're pretty sure they know what they can count on from him.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're not filling in your rotation. You're done with the top half. You don't have to go out and find a guy for the top half where you're going to have to spend to do that. You're trying to fill in the bottom, and you've got your candidates inside that if they don't fall in the face, they can handle that. So you could go out and get a guy during spring training, like they've done in the past, to fill like that 5 spot, like they've done, like Anibal Sanchez, a guy like that. Which is a much better position than having to fill 2 spots in the rotation like they felt like they had to do this year with him and Smiley. So, and you've seen everything about Charlie. You love everything about him. Now you don't have to worry about anything, and he can take care of the rotation and the young guys and be there for him and all that. So he's 10 years older than Max Fried. He's 5 years older than the next oldest starter on the team, which is Drew Smiley. But Charlie leads the team in Braves and starts with 26. He leads them in innings with 158, leads them in strikeouts with 185, which is impressive. 185 strikeouts and 158. Basically, if you're impressive, you can go strike out an inning, Leads them in ERA at 3.47, besides Anoa, who's at 3.19 and half as many games. Leads them in wins with 13. Is tied for the fewest homers per 9 innings among Braves starters with 0.9. And I think this is probably maybe the most important stat of all. In his last 20 starts, he's 11-3 with a 2.95 ERA, 184 opponents average, 552 opponents OPS. Last 20 starts, 141 strikeouts and 35 walks. So you're talking about 4-to-1 strikeouts to walk ratio in his last 20 starts after some rough outings early.
Horse. Yeah. I mean, and I remember that was the thing we talked about in April was he kept having that one bad inning.
Yep. And
And
doesn't
then
have that now.
that conversation died down pretty quick.
And he's going 6 innings basically. He's not going 8 or 9, but he's going like 6 almost every time out. And he went 7, the other day at Colorado of all places and pitched his ass off. 2 hits at Colorado. So all signs are good. I mean, to point to this is not a risk. I know it's always a risk at 37. There's going to be some inherent risk, 38 next year, but this is about as low a risk as you could have for a 38-year-old pitcher. I mean, that. And it's not a guy that's had any elbow or shoulder things either. Knock on wood again.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, well, I'd much rather sign him for 20 than two high risk at 10, and hope one of them pans out. Cause he's just been an anchor all year. After that first month. I mean, he's just been, every time he's on the mound, you feel good about the team's chances.
It was asked about why do it now. And I thought it makes sense to do it now because one, like d'Arnaud last month, you're taking care of 2 things that you'd have to do in the offseason. Now you can focus on Freddie. I don't know why that's not done yet, but I think Freddie's going to get done. Now you can focus though. You don't have to, you're not going to be trying to do like 3 or 4 things at once. You got 2 big ones taken care of with d'Arnaud. That was huge. I thought, as far as being a leader, you want a catcher, experienced catcher. You don't want to have to worry about filling in a catcher of all spots. You don't have to d'Arnaud. Yeah, man. So you took care of that one last month. Now you took care of Charlie. And I thought it was a good gesture to him too. Showed you how much you believe in him to do it now rather than wait to see if he's going to get hurt in the last month of the season or if he can carry it forward in the postseason and all that. You're saying, we believe in you so much, we want to bring you back for $20 million. And if he had any kind of hesitation, he wanted to wait until after it was over to decide whether he wanted to pitch next year. I think the Braves made a really strong gesture by doing it now, saying this is how much we believe in you and want you back, to do it now rather than wait.
Oh, it's huge. And it's huge for him because he doesn't have to worry about falling on his face this month.
Yeah,
that takes pressure off of that. You're going to pitch better when you're not worried about that. And if they want to go short rest in the postseason and you're going into free agency and the arm's hanging a little bit, you can get it done. You got guaranteed money next year.
True that. I didn't even think about that.
Beat the crap out of me, because that's the risk they're taking for him to, to make him comfortable, and you reward him with throw me as much as you want. You want me to throw 120 pitches if I'm rolling, I mean, if it's just, there's so much that goes into taking that pressure off a player that it's a huge gesture for him. I'm sure he's thrilled.
Yeah, especially a guy that's going to be, like I said, 38 in November. I mean, he doesn't have to worry. And he's got this reputation as Big Game Charlie. I mean, he's been the best postseason pitcher for the last 5-6 years. Now he doesn't have to worry about, what if I fall on my face in a postseason? Are they still going to give me that is it going to be viewed as a sign that I'm falling off or whatever? He could just go
they can find a sign anywhere too. I mean, it could be one bad game or your velo can drop and it has nothing to do with your health and means nothing. Teams can ride that thing hard and be, a bad playoff stretch, all of a sudden he's getting 10 mil next year.
And a big part of him was he wanted to pitch close to home. I mean, his family, he doesn't want to move his kids around and all that during the season. So his wife and the kids live in Bradenton. Braves train, he can stay at home, which is a huge deal for players with kids at spring training when they can live at home and drive 30 minutes to the ballpark each day. So he does that at spring training. So it's a very limited number of teams that would offer that luxury, very limited.
Yeah.
One of those is the Rays. And if the Braves had waited till after the World Series to make him an offer, the Rays might have said, because they kind of regretted not picking up his option. They might have stepped forward and made a similar offer for 1 year for next year. They loved having him on their team. So, Braves kind of nipped that in the bud because, I mean, the Rays are even more convenient to him because he can live at home all season.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal.
Man, you go on a 4-day trip with your kids, you take the whole house.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my big pet peeve when my wife wants to plan a trip is just getting everything there that you have to take. You got babies, they have all these gadgets and cribs and stuff they need. It's like you can't get a big enough car to go on a 4-day road trip. So you think about packing for 45 days.
Yeah.
Moving your family to a whatever apartment or condo or house you can find in spring training, getting all that stuff back home and then going somewhere else for the season. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing for a lot of players is what a pain in the ass it becomes to travel and take these 3, however many kids you got, these little people with you.
Yeah.
That have all this stuff with them, and deal with all that. His wife's got her set up at home. I mean, that's probably huge for him.
And then the chances of also was asked, what are the chances they pick up the option? I think that kind of depends entirely on how he pitches and how the rest of the staff pitches next year.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have guys like, say, a couple more guys step up next year, say Muller really comes into his own, pitches his ass off, and Davidson pitches his ass off, then if you've got like 4 or 5 guys, you might say, we could use that 20 million for something else. Charlie, we loved having you here, but you've fallen off a little bit, and and Charlie's like, I understand, I'm going home. So,
yeah.
But to have that option of being able to pick that up if he pitches again like he did this year, that's just a win-win for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be no hurt feelings either way, but definitely just a solid gesture just to get it done now and tell them we want you back. I mean, you're going to be even more attached to the group and pitching with even more passion now in the postseason.
It's importance to the team is not just in a rotation too. This is a guy that other guys on the team have all gone to for advice from they talk to him about life. I mean, this guy is a really level-headed, mature guy that you'd never know he's a baseball player if you didn't know him, if you didn't know what he looked like or whatever. And you just wanted to, and you met him at the grocery store. You'd never know. I mean, other than him being a tall guy and going, wow, it looks athletic, because he is the most normal, down to earth guy you could ever meet. I mean, there's nothing pretentious about this guy, absolutely nothing. And he's really thoughtful and interesting to talk to. He's really, I mean, and guys like Dansby has raved about. Said, I just love being around him. I love talking to him every day. You love seeing his face in the clubhouse and going up and talking to him about everything, not just baseball.
Well, and baseball will humble you. People are usually shocked when you're a baseball player and they meet you and you're down to earth, but it's like, dude, this game ate me alive. But me personally, the last 2 years of my career, but Charlie got humbled early. He went through that grind early and got his ass kicked. And I think that's just something that when you go through that and it humbles you like that, you never are going to get too high on yourself again. You're going to understand, I'm just good at one thing in life. You get out in the real world, that skill doesn't really matter anymore once you're retired. So I'm sure he's approachable and easy to talk to. He was a good dude even when we were teammates back in the day. He's always kind of been the same, but that's why that humbling, getting your ass kicked on a baseball field, there's not a lot of things that feel like that.
Yeah, I think all of his struggles early in his career and everything has went into molding what he has become, for because a clubhouse guy and all that. And so it's made him, he's better for it, Yeah. He could have had a better career if he'd have started, excelling early and made a lot more money, but man, he wouldn't be the guy that he is now if everything had come easy for him and he didn't have a lot of setbacks, repeated setbacks of all kinds.
That's why, the Hall of Famers sometimes aren't as relatable.
Yeah.
They've just rolled through the career and I'm just better than everybody all the time. It doesn't give you the best perspective.
I had a good quote from Dansby last week when he pitched to Colorado. Dansby afterwards said, he's been phenomenal for us all year. You know what to expect from him every time he goes out there. I've said it before, what he's able to do at this stage of his career and at his age, like it can't be overstated just how impressive it is and how he continues to seem like he's building momentum to get even better, which is really, really impressive. And on top of that, he's a joy to be around. So I'm thankful for all of it. That's what Dansby said about him.
It's not a tough sell.
Yeah. Braves. Okay, they go through that stretch. They had the run that they had talked about for months, and we're like, okay, but when are you going to finally do it? You talked about it for 3 months. Well, they did it. They had a 9-game winning streak. They went 16-2, I think it was, and they had a 13-game road winning streak. Well, all that came crashing down, which we thought it might, at Dodger Stadium, and on that road trip, because it was a really tough road trip. People just looked at those who just looked at the Rockies' overall record, thought, oh, it's the Rockies. They're next to last place. They suck. They're a totally different team at Coors Field, man. Yeah. They are an elite team at Coors Field. Their record is like second or third best, second in the National League and one of the 4 best in the majors. So you can't just dismiss that. We're 100 and some games into the season. They are what they are. They suck on the road and they are good at Coors Field. So I thought the Braves, after getting their butts kicked at Dodger Stadium, even though those 2 one-run games, Dodgers handled them. they got swept there. I thought that was pretty impressive to come back and win to split 4 games at Coors Field, and to win on the last day was huge. I thought to win the way they did, finally after 5 straight 1-run games, to win 9-2, get 4 home runs.
I mean, it's an unfortunate road trip the way it's lined up, but even if you were going and playing any other team before the Rockies, you go into Colorado,
Yeah,
and you split a 4-game set, I think
yeah,
any team's happy with that. I mean, your goal when you first go in there is just to get out in one piece.
yeah,
I think teams in the NL West that are used to going in and playing. So if the Dodgers went and played a 4-game set, they might feel pretty good about 3, and splitting might be a disappointment. But when you go there once a year, I remember somebody was asking me, what Ian Anderson was doing. Is he throwing cutters, or his fastball looks different tonight? It's just, dude,
yeah,
the ball just does weird stuff there. It's a different place. It's different for everybody. You run, you're out of breath after 30 seconds.
yeah.
If you can normally run a mile and feel pretty good about it, you run a quarter mile and you're gassed for some reason. So everybody just feels different. Your body feels different. You sleep different. It's just a tough place to go and a tough place to play. Outfielders aren't used to having to cover that much ground and play that deep and come in on balls. It's just a nightmare of a place to play. So I think, if they hadn't got swept by the Dodgers, if they'd taken 1 from the Dodgers, you'd feel a lot better about the road trip. But either way, that's a tough place to go. And you split with Colorado, you're still fine.
Yeah, and even though they use the humidor, when balls are outside for a while, they're going to get dry and feel different. I mean, they're not going to feel the same as they do in humidity, And Ian said, he just really didn't have hardly any of his pitches, and it's the first time he didn't have the changeup, which is huge for him. Without the changeup, he's not going to be the same pitcher.
Yep.
So, yeah, he struggled, and you could see what gasping out there early on.
I'm telling you, man.
People that haven't been up there, I mean, if you try to go out and just jog outside at Denver, the first time you do it, you feel like, oh my God, have I got emphysema? Because you just can't, you can't overstate how big a factor mile high altitude is on athletic performance.
Well, like even pitchers running, it's like, all right, you're running today is 10 poles.
Yeah.
Like they tell you 10 poles, you're like, you just cruise through it. This is nothing. You don't even feel like you got a workout in. You do 1 pole, that's just foul pole to foul pole on the warning track. You run 1 of those in Colorado and you are gassed. You're like, what's wrong with me? You're asking the strength coach, can I just run half poles or 3/4? Yeah. It's just a different beast. But I think Charlie did well because he knew what to expect, and he's been through there. But the ball just does weird stuff. I think the guy that I think it's Lance Lynn always pitches well there, and he throws 1-seamers right down the middle, and some of them cut, some of them rise, some of them dart down, and he just aims middle of the plate. He doesn't even bother with his other pitches, and he normally does pretty well there because it's unpredictable, but he's just letting that unpredictability kind of work in his favor.
Yeah, guys that keep it simple and don't have 2 or 3 pitches seem to do a lot better there than it's hard to predict too. I mean, Tom Glavine threw he had a 1-hitter there, a shutout. I mean, he had an incredible game there one time. I saw Pat Rapp come within. Kurt Abbott missed a bloop behind short. Otherwise, Pat Rapp would have thrown a no-hitter at Coors Field. Pat Rapp. So it's hard to predict what's going to happen, man, when guys go out there.
The twilight zone.
Yeah. But that's why when somebody excels there, a Rockies pitcher for a whole season, is home like this year with what's his name, stats at Coors Field are terrific this year. It's like tip of the cap, man. If you could do it for a whole year there. Hey, I had one more quote I thought was really good on Darno. Asked him, and this was this weekend, asked him about working with Charlie. What's it like working with Charlie? And he said, after Charlie's 2-hitter, he said, I love it. He thinks of everything, every situation. He understands what a game plan is, but also at the same time understands when he has to wing it if he doesn't have a certain pitch, and he's able to execute in that situation as well. Said, I don't think any moment is too big for him. He's himself all the time. He's fun to be around, and whenever we need him, he always shows up. So just another testament to Charlie Morton and what makes him kind of special.
That's why he's still playing.
Yep. And why, if when he wants to, I don't know, with the kids, it's going to be a while, probably like Chipper, but if he wants to, there'd be teams lining up for wanting him to coach, Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to get offers as soon as he announces he's done. There's somebody calling the next day.
Yeah. I don't think he talks fast enough to be a broadcaster. He's like a really thoughtful guy. You talk to him and he sits there and thinks about each question and gives you this great response, but he doesn't talk at that speed necessary for broadcaster.
I like
But
that though.
he's really good with it. I mean, his quotes are, wow, you come away going, that was really good. But he talks at length and it's a slow cadence.
I think it's Mulder. Somebody's doing it for the Cardinals. I've heard him a few times. I think it's Mark Mulder. But I mean, it's like the most calm, just little background comments every time, but it's always really good. So I think for really, enthusiastic fans, it might not be the best, if you're trying to get people amped up about the game, but when it's
Right.
something really thoughtful that I didn't think of, I'm like, damn, that was a pretty good point. I like those guys.
Yeah. Other thing that was big this weekend, Ozzie Albies, he only missed 2 starts after fouling a ball off his knee. And when he did it, it looked like he broke the kneecap because he had to be carried off the field. And you're thinking, oh my God, it was flush with the kneecap, and it was a fastball that he barely tipped. So, it was a Walker Buehler fastball, 96. So, and it was flush with the knee, and you thought, oh my God, he shattered his kneecap. He's done for the year and for the playoffs. I mean, that was the immediate thought when he went down and crumpled up, and they had 2 trainers had to literally carry him off the field. He only missed 2 starts. He comes back, homers on the second pitch he sees in the first game back on Friday, then homers again Saturday. And then Sunday, he homers on the first pitch of the game from this kid making his debut that the Rockies brought from Double-A. First pitch of the guy's career, Ozzie hits it out to center.
Welcome to the show, bud. Nothing will knock your confidence off a cliff like the first ball you throw goes over the fence.
I can't even imagine.
And you're pitching in quarters.
What's that kid thinking, man?
That happened to me. I didn't give up a homer, but Mark Kotze laced a double the first pitch I threw. I mean, you think you're going to get a free strike, and he just raked it off the wall.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, you kick into gear real quick. Like, all right, these guys aren't playing around.
Ryan Feltner's his name, the right-hander. I'm sure he's thinking, all right, calm down, throw a strike. Let's get, throw a good first pitch. And he's like, Ozzie's like ready. He ain't going to cooperate.
It's the same game. Every veteran I talk to, they say it's the same game up here. Stick to your game plan. He's like,
trust your stuff.
AAA, I got it over as a free strike. The thing's 20 rows deep. What's going on up here?
I trusted my stuff, and that 5'7" dude hit it 430 feet. What the hell, man?
Yeah, I don't think that's a quick way to lose trust in your stuff.
So, in a process of homering in 3 straight games, Ozzie went over 25 home runs. He's at 20, career high 26 now. Made the Braves infield just the second in MLB history to have all 4 guys with 25 or more homers, which I think is kind of stunning that nobody else has done that. Like, I think of some of those Dodger teams, with Garvey and Say and those guys, and you thought, God, didn't they do that every year? No, they didn't. Nobody's ever done it. The 2008 Marlins of all teams were the team that did it. And there was one on there does not, Mike Jacobs. He was good for a year, maybe.
Yep.
But he was on that. He had 32. Uggs, Dan Uggla had 32. Hanley Ramirez had 33. Okay, no surprises except for Jacobs. Jorge Cantu had 29. So they were within 1 homer of having 4 guys do 30 homers. So, but that's the only team that's done it until now. And I think this Braves team has a really good shot, if everybody stays healthy, of being a first with 4 guys get 30.
Oof. Yeah.
Because Austin Riley hits his 29th homer on Sunday, career high, raised his career best total to 87 RBIs, by the way. Dansby has a career high 26. He's got a career high 80 RBIs. And Freddie has 28. So you got 20, 26, 26, 28, and 29. And Dansby and Ozzie are certainly capable of hitting 4 homers between them, each of them.
How many games they got left?
Well, we got 20, about 21, is it? I should know that.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the schedule. You got a 9-game homestand, and then you've got a 9-game, 10-game road trip, 19. Yeah, you got 25 games left.
Oh, they can do it. That'd be cool.
26 games left. Yeah. So barring injury, I think all of them are going to do it. That'd be pretty cool to have 4 guys hit 30. And at least 3 of them are going to have a real good shot at 100 RBIs.
Yeah.
That's kind of pushing it. Dansby's got 80, so that's pushing it. But man, how impressive would that be? They could all get 4, get 90. Freddie's has the lowest RBI total of the bunch, which I would have never believed if you'd told me before the season. And additionally, Ozzie and Dansby are just the 5th pair of middle infield teammates to have at least 25 in a season. It's only been 5 times
Ever.
4 different sets have done it. They're the 5th. Uggs and Hanley did it twice. They're the only ones to do it back-to-back seasons, 07 and 08.
Man, Dan was the man back then, man.
He was setting all kinds of records for home runs for second baseman to start a career.
One.
And he'd been a Rule 5 guy too.
Yep. Drop that helicopter on you.
The forearms. Man, those forearms. Let me ask you about how much do players care about, how much credence do you or importance do you put on runs scored? Because Freddie Freeman led the league high 101 runs scored this year, and no other NL player has more than 90.
It's not nothing.
No.
You know, I mean, I think that, you know, you're as a 3 or 4 hole hitter, you're looking at, I'd say, you know, I know that's probably changed now because you're going to say it's opportunity and whatnot, but I think
it's team stat.
Most middle of the lineup guys are looking at RBIs, you know, home runs. Guys still care about their average. It's up there on the scoreboard, regardless of if it's a way you get analyzed or not. But I think RBI is a big one for middle of the lineup guys, but runs scored too. You know, I mean, if they're not going to pitch to Freddie, takes his walk and Riley gets a double, you know, I mean, he gets credit for taking that walk and not trying to do too much. I don't think it's one that he's going to hang his hat on, but I think it feels good.
Well, his mentor, it was an important one for his mentor, Chipper. You know, Chipper's old school as they come. Chipper, I know, always wanted to score 100, drive in 100, and also not strike out 100, which has gone by the wayside these days, but he never did. So, but yeah, if you can score 100 runs and drive in 100, you're doing some work, man.
Oh, yeah, 200.
And he's got a chance to do something else. Freddie's got a chance to be the first baseman since Albert Pujols in 09 and 10 with the Cardinals. First baseman to lead the NL in runs scored back-to-back seasons. Pretty good company.
That was when Pujols was the man.
Yeah.
That's really good company.
Do you put Pujols and Miggy best right-handed hitters you've seen?
In their prime?
Yeah.
I mean,
last 25 years.
It's so weird, man, because everybody sees them now, and you don't want to give them credit for who they were 10 years ago. But
yeah,
you know, it'll be Trout one day. Nobody will think Trout was, you know, it's about the newest guy, but it'll be Trout someday. Nobody will really fully grasp, you know, what a guy he is, and what a presence he is. But if you look at the numbers Pujols was putting up in his prime years in St. Louis,
did it for over a decade.
Yeah,
he had one of the greatest decade. Yeah, same with Miggy. Miggy was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah,
Trout's got to do it. I think a couple more years, but yeah, you're right. It'll be right there. Yeah, I mean, and Bonds is obviously lefty in a different category with steroids, but Bonds was the best player in the game before he did the steroids. So it just makes it hard. That's what also pisses me off about Bonds is he makes it so hard to evaluate him.
Credit.
Yeah, it makes him hard to evaluate him when you're having your best years. You're almost 40, or when he was 40, his late 30s, he's doing ridiculous things. You know, come on.
Well, that's what happens in your careers. You know, you get smarter and your ability kind of
right, and you add the steroids, and
so you start here, and you're getting your abilities dropping, but you're getting smarter. They kind of meet in the middle, and that's your prime. And the steroids just keep
you inject steroids into that equation. It's like, whoa, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like Charlie's ability. He's just been able to maintain it. Now you're seeing what he's able to do because of everything he's learned. You know, there's only a small window where you're able to apply everything you've learned and your body still cooperates.
Right.
And the steroids just extend that window where the body's, you know, it's game now and it'll do it.
That's a great way of putting it.
All this knowledge and you're able to put up those numbers.
You have that 5-year window that a lot of voters look for with Hall of Famers. Yep. That 5-year window where you're one of the best players to ever play the game, you know, and you look at your best 5-year window, you know, and that's where your guys like Koufax got in, even though he didn't have the long career because he got hurt, but he had a 5-year window where he was the best pitcher in the world, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it takes so much time to accumulate that knowledge, and then you have a small window to apply it before your body breaks down.
Yeah. Like you look at Chipper had, you know, 6, 7 years there where, I mean, he was playing it every day too. People forget because he was hurt so much at the end of his career. People forget Chipper played 160, 162 games like every year for a long time. So did Andrew. You know,
they didn't see Chipper walking in around the clubhouse in his shower shoes at 3:00 and looked like it hurt to sit down and stand up. And he was still playing a lot.
Yeah.
And the reason he was still able to, he hit 300 in his late 30s, right?
Well, he won a batting title, hit 360
in his late 30s.
Yeah, mid late 30s.
I mean, that's him just being able to drag his body out there, and he's got so much knowledge, and he's such a smart hitter. He can win a batting title. You know?
Without taking BP hardly ever.
Yep. Not working out. I mean, he couldn't waste any energy.
Yeah. Yeah. It was something to watch him at the end, man. But Miggy hit a home run the other day. I told Chipper this the other day. I said, Miggy hit that. I think it was his 500th homer. He hit it the way Chipper. I remember Chipper hitting a couple late at the very end of his career where the swing, you're like, that's not a home run swing. It's like, it's not even that fast. And he backspins the ball. And Miggy hits backspin ball, hits it opposite field or to right center. And it was like, it just kept going. And the swing, you look at the swing, you're like, is that a home run swing? But Chipper did the same thing at the end of his career. He was able to just backspin a ball. It would just carry and carry and carry.
In pitcher's parks, think how many more Chipper had if he played somewhere else. Or, I mean, Comerica, before they moved the fences in, was
huge,
was way bigger, and Miggy flips balls out of there. He's done it his whole career.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty phenomenal. He's going to go down as one of the top 10 hitters, I think. Definitely in this era. I mean, he's top 5 this era, top 3.
It'd be hard to pick between prime Pujols and prime Miggy.
Yep. Pujols, Miggy, Barry Bonds, Trout. I mean, we're seeing some, and then this younger generation, obviously, they got to do it for a while, but they have the capability of having a couple, 3 guys in there from this younger generation too, before it's all said and done. But you got to do it for a decade, you can't do it for 5 years.
Right.
You got to keep
Joey
doing
Votto's
it.
a Hall of Famer.
He's this season, I think, has really revived his chances. I mean, because he's changed himself. I got all the respect in the world for what he's done this year and decided he's going to hit for power and what he's doing. I thought he was probably going to get in anyway. But I think this year, if he does this for another year or so, he's first ballot.
That's what I tell people. He's probably the toughest lefty I've ever faced. Just because he stays in on the slider, he can hit you out to left field. You make a mistake inside, he'll pull it out. Just the all around toughest lefty that whenever he was in the lineup, it's like, I'd like to avoid that guy. You're watching that lineup turn over and you're in the pen warming up. I'd rather avoid that battle because it's going to be a tough one.
And he's another guy that's what you were talking about is putting that knowledge to use. It's like he's able to change his swing, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, this team needs power, or I'm going to hit for power instead of having a 450 on base percentage. He's going to hit some bombs, and he's doing it. I mean,
well, he got criticized for that forever.
Yeah, he did, for taking too many, taking a walk when he should have been driving in runs for that money he was making. I know he drew a lot of criticism for that. He didn't let it affect him though. He's not going to change. He's not going to give in.
Changed his mind, I guess. I mean, I think that was when he hit those. It was like 7 or 8 homers in a row, games in a row. With a homer or something like that. When he did it this year, they asked him what he changed, and he's kind of like, he keeps a lot to himself, but he kind of just said, "Yeah, I just decided I want to hit for power again."
That's pretty amazing what he's done with changing the swing. He's changed his swing.
Yeah.
He's not rolling over his wrist. Somebody showed it the other day. He's not, he's changed the whole thing with the emphasis on hitting for power. And most guys, if they tried to do that in the middle of the season, would be lost. Yeah. It's a terrible season for them. But he's like
5 more homers and bat 200.
Yeah, he's impressive, man. Joe, that was impressive. Really, and another really thoughtful player. God, he's smart.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, this is going to be a big week. The Braves, they go what after the 9-game winning streak, a 13-game road winning streak. They went during that brutal stretch. They went 4-8. So their lead's down to a game and a half over the Phillies. Harper's playing great for the Phillies. They're playing a good ball. And the Mets, we wrote them off, but they're only 4 back. I mean, I don't think they're a threat, but they're only 4 back. So
all they had to do was flip off their fans or whatever they did.
Yeah. Alderson would have come to Jesus meeting, I think. But So it's going to be an interesting race. And the Phillies, we've talked about how easy their schedule is. They're really making the most of that. The Braves had that brutal stretch of their schedule. They got through it. I mean, not as good as they would hope, but they also didn't, they went 4-8. They could have been, 2-10 during that stretch. I mean, that was a brutal.
Could have been 1-7 or 1-6,
Yeah.
I mean,
and that was preceded by those 2 games against the Yankees too, who were playing at the time and won on the way to winning 13 in a row. So now they got they got a chance to really kind of catch their breath. They can't take the foot off the gas because they got to make the most of this homestand.
Yeah, that's
3 against the Nationals, who are on fumes. 3 against Miami, which is a shell of what they were, since the trade deadline, and then 3 at home against Colorado, which, as I said earlier, sucks on the road. So you got 9 games on this homestand. You need to go like 7-2 on this homestand. I know it's hard to sweep anybody, but to really look at realistically, 6-3 minimum. But I think you need to go 7-2 or better on this homestand.
Yeah.
To get a couple of games on the Phillies.
They could get some breathing room for sure with a good homestand.
Because when you look at it at what you got coming up after that, why you got to go at least 7-2 on this homestand, I think you got Giants, D-backs, Padres road trip, which is really unusual to have a long trip on the West Coast like that at the end of the season for the Braves. But that's who you got.
Yeah.
Giants and Padres.
Then you come home and play Philly on fumes.
Yep. And the Giants and Padres are obviously really good at home. So those are going to be 2 cauldrons there. Those 2 teams are playing for their playoff berths or the division title in the Giants case. So they're going to be jacked. And we saw Arizona sweep the Phillies at home 2 weeks ago. So as bad as Arizona is,
Field light. There's a lot can go wrong in that stadium too.
Yeah. Hitters Park. So you can't look past that, look for Giants and Padres on both ends of that trip. You got 4 games in the middle against the D-backs. So you cannot afford to stumble because you end the season at home against the Phillies and Mets, 6 games. And you don't want it to come down to those, but it could.
Yeah. I mean, it probably, I mean, I would say the Phillies series is more likely to be the big one.
Yeah.
But even the Mets, if they're
Mets
trying
could
to
be playing
back,
spoiler.
yeah, they're gonna be hating on you. If if you need those wins, they're gonna play hard even if they're out of it.
Yeah. So interesting. It's going to be a really, really fun September, I think. Interesting to watch. So a lot of good races and none better than the NL East. So that's it. 755 is real, and we are out. We'll talk to y'all later.